has a very grapefruity smell, which I love in the spring and summertime. So this is not one of the woodwick candles, so we won't get to hear that cozy crackling sound. I need to pick up another one of those, but in like a fresher, summery scent, now that the seasons are changing for us. Or at least they're changing where I am. Although we're still very much like in that we're very much in that spring, lots of rain season right now. I also have a cup of coffee here to drink while we're together. This is an ember mug, that's why it makes sort of like a metally sound. But it keeps my coffee up for longer. So my week was fairly uneventful. I had several like volleyball games to go to for my kids, track meet, soccer games, and then they had like their practices and whatnot in between. One of my children, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this already, but one of my youngest is in a play, and so or a musical, so she also has added play practice to her schedule each week. But I got to go in and get a little glimpse of their performance. They did at the end of practice one day, they did a little song for the parents as we picked up, and it was so cute. I cannot wait to see this performance. They're doing The Little Mermaid, and she is a mer-sister, and also a princess. So she has two roles in the play. So it'll be very cute. So a fairly uneventful week for me. Our school did host a teacher appreciation luncheon on Friday, and I was in charge of the decorations for that. I also brought finger sandwiches, but I was in charge of the decorations. So I brought in some like fabric tablecloths and some banners and signs and things like that, and then I also made flower arrangements for all the tables, and I recorded myself making the mini bouquets, the mini flower arrangements, because it was just sort of like, I don't know, I find doing things like planting plants or making flower arrangements, things like that, sort of like a soothing activity, and so I thought maybe we could do it together. So I did video that, and it will be coming, I don't know, up soon, but it was kind of fun to make all of these I did little bud vases and small vases to scatter on all of the tables. and it was junk. It was basically trash. So I ended up giving it to my kids to use because they think it's fun to use it like sports games or tournaments. They'll do like mini mic interviews. So I gave that to them, and I was thinking like, I need to get something like that to use for maybe if I were to try to do another day in the life, or these like little soothing recordings outside of my little cozy room here. And believe it or not, I got an email from a company like the next day asking if I'd like to be sent a mic to try. And I was like, wow. I don't know if I manifested that without trying to or what, but their timing was perfect. So they are going to be sending me a mini mic, I guess one that you wear, a wireless one. So we'll see how that works. I'm not sure. I also have a recommendation from Jenna, who I follow here on YouTube. She's in the Midwest ASMR, and she uses like a wired mini mic. So I may get that. I might buy that because that was fairly inexpensive. So I might purchase that so that I can keep doing these sort of I don't know, more like lifestyle type videos because I think that you guys enjoy them. But I'll try the wireless one that's being sent to me as well and see if it's any good. So anyway, I thought that was like crazy, so exciting that I was like, gosh, I really should get one of those. And the next day they emailed me about it. So great timing. Actually, something similar happened with I posted about the book club, or talked about doing our book club on here, which I did pick a book and I did post that, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But I posted that, or I talked about doing the book club soon. So I had talked about picking a book for book club, and then another one of my subscribers who had reached out to me at an earlier time about these journals that she makes. Feely from My Cup of Stars is her company, and I have a video coming about her journals and about journaling soon. But I was thinking about how I really should have a book journal to keep track of the books I read and like what I think about them as I'm reading them or right when I finish them, because when I'm doing a book review, oh no, that's what it was. I think I published the book review and I was thinking about how I forget a lot about the books between when I read them and then when I share about them. So it would be nice to have something to reference. So anyway, she reached out to me and she has a book journal that she has created, and she offered to send me one, which is so generous. And again, like crazy timing that I happened to be thinking about that, and then she reached out about sending me one. And she's actually also generously gifting one to one of the book club participants for our new book club. So stay tuned about that. So we have had a very pretty quiet weekend for us. My husband actually went up to Maine for Thursday and some sourdough bread, some homemade bread, and then my daughter and my niece and one of their friends were over, and they made a skillet cookie. So we got to have some skillet cookie for dessert, which was so good. They made a big batch of chocolate chip cookie dough, and then they put it in the skillet and baked in the skillet, and then dumped like a whole bunch of ice cream right in the middle. And then they also had enough dough to do some like big chocolate chip cookies as well. So that was a treat. And then my husband and I got cozy on the couch, and we watched Juror number 2. I'm not sure what we watched that on. I think it's on HBO Max. But it was quite good, and it was actually like kind of interesting to be watching that right now while I'm following the Karen Reed case so closely, because it was a hit and run. I don't want to give too much away in case you want to watch it, because I would recommend it. I think I would recommend this movie. But it's about a hit and run, and it's about what were some of the there were several things where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like parallel to that case in many ways. There was like politics mixed in. I mean, not like corruption so much, but there was like some politics mixed in there, and it was good. It was a good movie. So yeah, we just did that, and then today on Sunday we are just having like a slow morning at home. My husband's going to be power washing the house here shortly, so if it gets really loud, I might need to cut this short. But I did put that on his honey-do list because I want him to power wash the front of the house, just like where the front porch is. And then we have some like roof lines that cause water to drip down on our house, and it can cause like green to grow. I don't know if it's like mildew or something, but anyway, he needs to power wash that off. So anyway, just doing stuff like that. And then in this afternoon, I have a event with my Girl Scout troop. We're actually going candle making. We're going to a store that makes and sells candles, and they also host candle making classes or activities. So I signed up my whole Girl Scout troop, and I also, oh, that's the power washer. We'll see how this goes. So I also invited the moms to join us. So I have quite a few moms coming with us, with the girls, so like everybody can make their own candle. You pick the vessel, you pick the fragrances that you wanted. So it should be fun. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that with them. My Girl Scout troop, I have been with them. I started it when they were in kindergarten, and we've been together ever since, and pretty much all of them are like best friends with each other anyway. There's 14 girls in my troop, and they are just a delight. And I have to say, like, I was Girl Scout troop leader for my middle daughter as well. I was never a troop leader for my oldest daughter, but this group of girls is actually like, they're exceptional together. They're just like such a good, sweet group of kids, because I remember with my older daughter, my middle daughter, when I was her Girl Scout troop leader, I think we only had maybe 12 girls in the troop, but they were a handful. They were a handful, and they were tough to bring on like field trips and to take places. Once we started doing activities outside of the school, we would meet after school for Girl Scouts, and then as they got older, I wanted to take them to do field trips and other fun activities, because there's so many fun things you can do with Girl Scouts. But they were really difficult to manage, and I was hesitant to have more than 12 in my current troop with my youngest daughter, and it's been great. I've had up to 15. One girl moved, so there's 14, and they're fantastic. So I love going on these little adventures with them. So we're doing that today, and maybe next week I'll be able to show you the candle. So maybe next week I'll be able to show you the candle. So I think that's about was like a pretty uneventful week for me and my family. I will discuss book club real quickly. So, you may have seen the post in my community page or whatever, that we're going to be reading The Personal Librarian. I am, let's see, not too far into it. 68 pages in. I am enjoying it so much. I do love historical fiction. Oh, I think that's my daughter. I do love historical fiction, and I love that this is based off of a real person. So we don't know, from what I've researched at least and what I've read, we don't actually know Belle, what is her name? Belle DaCosta Green, real person, actually worked for J.P. Morgan as his librarian. So much of this story is true or based in truth, but I do believe she I believe she burned all of her correspondence before she passed in order to, or from what I've read again, to preserve her, I guess this is all speculation, but either to preserve her and her family's reputation, or to preserve the reputation of the library, which was her life's work. So it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, so what I did is I posted in the community page that this is the book that we're going to be reading, and then I put a date of, I think, June 15th. So there's, at the bottom of that post, there are discussion questions. There were so many discussion questions I wanted to include, and I just had to pick 6. We'll see. I may have to discuss more about it, but we'll see. So I posted those, and then if you're going to read the book, you can go ahead and just post your answers to the discussion questions there. And what I'll do is I will do a video reviewing the book and going over the discussion questions. Depending on how many people participate, I don't know if I'll be able to read all the answers to the discussion questions or if I'll pick and choose, but we'll see. However, if you do participate, if you do put your answers to the discussion questions in that post, then you will be entered to win the book journal that Feely from My Cup of Stars is generously gifting to one of you. So what I'll do is I'll probably put a random generator for numbers, and then pick a number, and then pick that number comment, and that's how that person will win. Unless one of you has a better idea for how to do that. I don't know, this is my very first giveaway, so we'll see. But I hope you all enjoy this book as much as I have been so far. So, I think that's all for book club talk, but I probably will, do some reminders here and there about it so that people participate. I hope people participate. I think it would be fun. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and just do a few of the Ooga cards. Okay, let's see here. Okay, as you get older, do you find that you act more and more like your parents? Yes, absolutely. I find that I definitely act more like my mother. I mean, I think people have always said that we have very similar, mannerisms and whatnot. I do think that some of the qualities that I am portraying fun. And so as I get older, I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to need to rest in the middle of the day too. Maybe I just have more time to rest, and so that's why I am able to take a little rest in the middle of the day. But I enjoy it. I love it. I wish I didn't need it. I guess I don't need it, but I can really feel it when I don't take that little bit of downtime in the middle of the day. Yeah, and then interestingly, when I edit my videos, I see my mom so much in myself when I'm editing. So that's interesting. I guess I'm not used to like seeing myself or watching myself, and now that I am, I do see my mom a lot in myself. The next question is life easier for kids or adults in general? I mean, if you asked a kid, they would say adults. If you ask adults, they'd say kids. I mean, certainly life is easier for kids because they're being taken care of. They don't have to worry about big problems like money and where they're, I mean, it depends, but like, you're being fed, you get to go to school, you get to have fun, like your job is to sort of have fun, you don't have other people depending on you, so like there should be very little stress for kids. However, kids, that was my son, kids don't get to do whatever they want, and as a grown-up, I mean, grown-ups don't get to do whatever they want either. I mean, we could technically do whatever we wanted, but it's not always in our best interest, right? Whereas kids, if they could do whatever they wanted, they would eat all the candy, and they would stay up super late, and they would play video games all night long. Those are my kids. So, not particularly harmful things for them. I mean, they are harmful, but, okay. Now they're singing songs. Okay, sorry, I think you might be hearing kids in the background for a couple minutes here, but that's okay. Try to enjoy it. So anyway, is life easier for kids or adults in general? It depends on which one you ask, but okay, so the next question is, was there any period of your life that was difficult, but that ultimately made you a stronger or better person? Yes, for sure. So, I have a sister who is adopted, and she has severe mental illness, and growing up, there was a whole host of challenges. I won't go into all of that here, but there was a whole host of challenges with just, I think, back then, there wasn't as much knowledge about mental illness and what that meant. And so, figuring out what was wrong and what she was dealing with was really challenging. And it certainly made it difficult for my parents and then also for my siblings and I. But I think that ultimately it made me a more empathetic person. I think it probably, my mom always used to say, I think she used to say like, that she always thought I behaved really well, and I was like, good, because I was trying to just like offset how challenging my sister, the challenges that they had with my sister. So, I don't know, there's like a whole bunch we could dive into with that I'm not going to, but I think that growing up with those kinds of challenges, and there was a lot to that, sort of just it kind of molded the person that I became, and I think for the better. Okay, and then we'll just do one more card. We might make this a short one today. We'll see. Okay, describe a time when you felt like a terrible person. Okay, this is kind of a recent with you, but I'm going to share with you. So, I'm going to try to be a little bit vague about this because I don't want to share anybody's like personal information. But I have some very close people in my life that were going through or are going through something very challenging. And for her birthday, I went on Etsy. I found a card that I thought that was funny. It was meant to be funny. And I sent it to her for her birthday just to sort of like make her smile, you know, amongst all like the difficult stuff that's going on. And I didn't really think much of it. I wrote a beautiful message inside, told her how much I, you know, support her and care for her and I'm here for her. And I didn't really, the only thing that was funny was like, it was like a one-liner on the outside of the card. And, like months later, I was talking to her about something else and she mentioned how much the card hurt her, how much it hurt her, and that she just like wasn't ready to laugh yet. And like I totally understand that, and it was I still feel terrible. I felt like a terrible person. I still feel like a terrible person. Like I was just trying to bring a little bit of levity to her day, and I wasn't trying to be funny in the card. The inside of the card, everything I wrote was very like heartfelt and not light at all. But the card itself on the exterior, it wasn't even that bad. I do know that maybe she was projecting a little bit of like, if she wanted to be upset, maybe she was just choosing me because I was an easy person to be upset with. And that's fine. I'm happy to carry that because she's going through, you know, something hard. But I felt really bad. I felt bad that I made her feel bad during a time when she already has so much going on. So it was completely unintentional and just a poor choice on my part. So anyway, that's embarrassing to share, but that happened relatively recently. Okay, so let's see. The next question is, do you go easy on people in games or sports when you know that your skill level is much higher than theirs? Yes, I do. And so like even like when I'm playing pickleball, I find that like I'll go easy on the rules and be like, it's close enough, it's fine, you know. But I mean, obviously when I'm playing with kids, I'll oftentimes like tone down my ability. Okay, so who has been the biggest role model in your life? I would say my parents are probably my biggest role model. I think that they are good people. I think that they're good people. They have a lot of good qualities, and I try to live by, you know, similar. I try to live by their example, I think. So, all right, that was a quick one. I guess we can try to do one more. Let's see. Okay. Do you find love, or does love find you? I think love found me in my particular situation. Love found me. However, I think sometimes you do need to find love. I know, like, I can imagine once you are out of like high school, college, early work environments. I mean, nowadays so many people work remotely. There's a young person in my neighborhood who works remotely, and she's home all the time and walking her dog. And I think, how do you meet people if you're working from home and you're like 23? You know, for me, like that was such a fun part of my life. Was like fresh out of college, going to work, sort of out of those social situations. So, again, that's probably why there's like dating apps and things like that. And I do think those work. I know a ton of people who have met their loves on dating apps or websites and things like that. So, in that case, you have to find love, and that's fine too. Okay, have you ever been caught red-handed doing something you weren't supposed to be doing? Oh gosh, yeah, I'm sure. Let me think here. Something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. I'm trying to think. I remember when I was in school, I would often fall asleep at my desk, and I would like have ways to hide it, but I remember being woken up a couple times. Other things, let me think. Red-handed that I wasn't supposed. Oh, well, I got pulled over the other day. So yeah, that was getting caught red-handed. And you know what I got pulled over for? It was so stupid. He just gave me a warning, thank goodness. But I was driving and I had an earbud in, and I was doing voice text, talk to text. And I don't know why I did this, because you don't need to. I had an earbud in, so when I talk, it would just go to my phone. But I picked up my phone and I was like holding it like this and talking into the bottom, which was completely unnecessary. Sorry, that's my dog. So now we have dogs barking, kids playing, the power washer going. But anyway, I had my phone in my hand and I was responding to a text via voice, but I held it up, and you can't have your phone in your hand in our state. And so I got pulled over, which, you know, my oldest daughter was with me, and she took the opportunity to video me getting pulled over. But he said, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, yes, I had my phone in my hand. And he checked my record, and I haven't been pulled over in 20 years. And so he said, he just gave me a warning. But it was totally my fault. I shouldn't have had my phone in my hand, and I didn't even need to, so it was really stupid. I'm just giving you guys all the dirt, all the tea on me today. Gosh. Okay, so let me just straighten out here. Okay, the last question on this card is, at what age should a person be considered 110% responsible for their actions? At what age? You know, it's interesting because legally at 18 you are responsible. You're a legal adult, so at that point you are responsible for your actions. I do think that's a good age. However, I do think that, like, if you are in our country, you are not allowed to drink until you're 21. I feel like if legally you can't drink until you're 21, then maybe we shouldn't be having people be fully 110% responsible for their actions until they're 21. I'm not sure. I do think that an 18, 19, 20-year-old person, I don't think their brain is fully formed, especially, I mean, and this is like generalizing, but I definitely think like that girls tend to have maybe slightly more, their brains may have matured more. I'm not sure if there's any science behind this. This is just from people I know and from growing up and things like that. It just seems like, boys sometimes need a little bit more time to grow into adulthood. Girls do. We all do, And it makes me sad when I hear about things, like legally kids getting in, or adults, the 18, 19-year-old people getting in trouble for things that, had they been a couple years younger, there would have been different rules applied to them. But again, I don't know. This is a tough question because, again, so in our country, it's at age 18 you can vote, you can buy cigarettes, you can gamble, or buy scratch tickets or whatever. But you can't drink alcohol. and you're a legal adult at 18, so you can be charged as an adult, but you can't drink alcohol. So I don't know, that just seems so backwards to me. So not that that has anything to do with this question, but if you're going to be 100% responsible for your actions, I don't know, maybe I think 18 is too young. I think in the courts you should be like 20 or something. I don't know. Anyway, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts, your opinions? I'm very curious. That's a tough question. Okay, friends. I feel like that is enough rambling from me today. Again, I would love to hear about your week and your weekend in the comments. I'd also love to hear your answers to any of those questions, especially the ones that I have a tough time answering. Whenever I have a tough time answering them, I think, what would other people say? Or what if I had more time to answer this? Oh, speaking of which, last week, one of the questions was, if I had the entire world's attention for 30 seconds, I think it was, or 3 minutes, or I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was like if I had the entire world's attention for a minute, what would I do with it? And at the time I was like, oh, I don't want the world's attention for any amount of time. But then afterwards I was thinking about it, and I think what I would do if I had the whole world's attention, I would bring attention to a really good cause. So specifically a cause that's been like sort of in the forefront of my mind lately is ALS. It is ALS Awareness Month. I have one of my best friends, her mother passed from ALS within the past couple of years. I've had people in our town who have passed. I just started following this girl on Instagram, and I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, but she is suffering with ALS. She's been diagnosed. She's so young. She's in her young 30s. And she is an absolute treasure. She is so funny, and just the way she's dealing with her illness with humor she's amazing. But it's such an awful disease. It's just terrible. I mean, there's no good way to go, but like, man, it's just awful. And I think that like bringing awareness to ALS, and bringing awareness to like the need for funding, for research, for medicine, would be like a really great thing to do if you had the world's attention for 30 seconds. So anyway, after having more time to think about it, I did come up with that answer. So anyway, as I was saying, if you have an answer to any of these questions, especially the ones that I have a tough time answering, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And like some of them you may hear when I read the question, and you may, like what my mind initially goes to, or what my mind thinks of first, may not be even the way that you interpret the question. So that's always interesting to see too. So anyway, all that to say, thank you so much for being here. And I hope this next week is wonderful for you. I hope it's filled with sunshine and joy